Hey everybody, welcome to Around the Battleground. This is our interview section. We're gonna have a bunch of these. Starting it off, we're gonna have Mr. Alpha Jackal, coach of Space Station Gaming. AJ, how you doing?
Not too bad, yourself.
I am doing all right. Sad that I won't be able to see you again this year at Worlds. Unfortunately, not able to go. So that part of me is sad, but am extremely excited for Worlds. If placement bracket and placement round was anything to base Worlds off of, it's going to be one hell of a year. So can't wait for that to happen. What, Friday is when everything kicks off, right?
Yeah, Friday's when the tournament starts, and if I'm going to go on the same line as you, if it's anything to go by from the placement rounds, this is probably going to be the most exciting year of Worlds in, ever.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously for me, it's a little skewed, right? Because my first Worlds was season 3, and I think that is probably widely regarded as like one of the best Worlds of Smite history, just based off of, I mean, you had the LG NRG set, you had Obey and Eager, right? Like that was how that worked out. And then obviously Obey and RG going the distance there as well. Like that, those last few rounds of that tournament were just so good and like could have went either way. Like I think that's why season 3 is probably like my pinnacle. And then in the next couple years, E United just blasted through the entire competition in 3-0s and was done like that. And then the year after that, Splice kind of basically did the same thing. Well, like Splice Rival was a bit more, it wasn't one-sided, but it's still, up until that point, it was like that was like the best match of the tournament by far. Rival and Splice had kind of beat up everybody pretty quickly, and then we had the Clash of the Titans at the end. But I think this year we could really have some like matches go all the way in every round, and I don't think that's something we could have said previously.
No, agreed. I think the semi-finals, I predict that both of them are going to go to Game 5s. Right now, I have Rival making it from the quarterfinals, and I think I'm going to take Dig over PK, but that's going to be like a 2-1, and then that's going to be a best of 5. And then on the lower bracket, I'm having Renegades take on Splice in the semi-finals, and that's literally going to be one of the best matches I'm ever going to see.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I guess we'll start with Worlds, right? So, and then we'll kind of go backwards into the placement round and kind of really talk about that with Worlds. So we've got our first matchup, Rival Sanguine. I think as well as Sanguine have done, especially playing with a sub. And actually, I want to ask your opinion on that. Yarkor is a great solo laner, but at times kind of struggles with that consistency, right? Has really good games, has high highs, but then has some like games where he's a non-factor. When they brought in the Oxylodon, whatever his name is, the coach, I don't know how to pronounce it. I just say it's Oxy, right? Like that's.
I think we can get away with just calling him Oxy, yeah.
When they brought him in, he didn't have the same highs, but he kind of just did his job, and like they had a really solid showing at the previous LAN, right? And then now with Haddix, kind of the same situation, it feels like, where it's more consistent, but he did have a couple bad games. I don't know. Do you think the Sanguine roster on LAN would have been better off with Yarkor, or are they kind of better off having that different style of solo laner?
I don't think it particularly makes a difference, given what we've been hearing behind the scenes about them. They talked about it a bit openly in the fact that Jackal was helping Haddix prepare and play for this team as if he was hardcore, and it was actually beating him in lane. So to me, I don't think it really is an issue. I don't think it really is a difference who they have in that solo lane. And that just was exemplified by their performances at this qualifier LAN, because they played out of their minds. They played as one team, one unit, and that's exactly what you need to do in this game.
Do you think moving forward that kind of casts some questions and doubts on whether Yarkor is the move moving forward? I mean, seeing how much success they've had as a unit and a group, at these land stages without him? Does that like, okay, maybe we can do better in our solo laner?
I think that's going to have to come down to internal factors rather than something we as the audience will be able to see. Maybe the team does decide that they've had more fun with Jackal. Maybe they decide it's been a blast with Haddix instead. It I think the performances have been the same-ish between the two of them. Like you said beforehand, it's been quite similar between the two. So to me, it's just going to come down to who do they prefer playing with as a person rather than as a player.
Okay, I think that's fair. We always kind of like, there's the 1,000-foot view from the analyst, right, and then you have your view from the trenches and everything. I think, I don't think realistically Sanguine is a squad that really makes any changes going forward, unless like one of their players gets called up to the SPL, right, which is possible. But again, that would be the only time I see this roster really making any changes. They play against Rival in the first round, and this, as good as their tournament run has been so far, as well as we've seen them play, I don't see Rival losing, getting first rounded 2 worlds in a row. I mean, I guess we can't even say it's the same squad, right? It's largely like there's some of that same DNA between, last year's squads who got first round and this year. But I don't know. Do you see a world where Rival kind of drop the ball leading to their first game of worlds, their first set of worlds?
I think there's a potential for Sanguine to take a game off of Rival. If there's any strategies which they do have up their sleeve, they could potentially pull one out. And we've seen just how well Sanguine play when they're ahead, especially through the mid lane Shinto. I think that can catch Rival a bit off guard, especially if PBM doesn't have the greatest of games. But I don't see a universe where Rival drop the entire set. My prediction is going to be a 2-0, but there is the possibility of it being a 2-1, just because I think the high and the emotional rush that they've gotten from qualifying for Worlds is it's gonna simmer down a bit by the time they actually play. But when they get on that stage and when they hear all the crowds cheering for them, because they are going to be some of the fan favorites going into this tournament just because of the storyline which they have, I think that their emotions are going to be running extremely high. If they get off to a good lead in game 1, they can take game 1 very easily.
I think that'll be the key. Is Sanguine? I think Sanguine can, if they can get an early lead, right? And that's kind of been the hallmark of any team transitioning the SPL, right? Is those first 10 minutes they can play with any other team. That is, we've seen that across the board. That's what I always go back and I look at, when Burrito and Poppy's first made it into the SPL, and for 10-15 minutes they could beat anybody. Like, they gave NRG a run for the money, they gave everybody. And then as soon as, like, right after that mid game to late game shift happens, they've never been there, they don't have the same experience, right? And that's when the wheels fall off the bus. And I think Sanguine have had a lot of practice against these SPL squads. They have a potential to kind of build their lead enough and then team fight. I mean, that's kind of been the hallmark of Sanguine, is their ability to team fight, and I think that serves them really well. Plus, they have some really janky pocket picks that they like to pull out. I mean, the Freya, if they can get their dream comp, which they did a couple times in placement rounds, if they can get the Freya, the Hell, the Rat, all of those picks that are just them, I think they could do a lot of damage. I think they can catch Rival off guard and take that game 1. And I think Rival might just try to play their game and not Sanguine's first game. And that's where we can see Sanguine. And then after that, I'm assuming like, okay, no, we're going to shut all this down now.
Yeah, I can also see Rival just trying to hold strats completely. They're just going to go out and play extremely vanilla compositions. Going to play extremely vanilla gods that we know that they're going to play. Twig's going to play some warrior jungle. Fino K's going to play a bully solo laner. Panda Cat's probably going to be playing a hunter mid, and Arkell and PBM are just going to do whatever they want to do, really. But I do agree with the game 1 analysis, and that it is just going to go down to drafts. If Sanguine do get their dream draft, if Rival do draft as we do predict they will in game 1, then there's always a possibility that Sanguine take that game 1. But Like you said, second that game one goes the way of Sanguine, bang, rival are just back in the room. I know Slaney is going to be able to bring the team as a whole together, refocus them, and they're just going to go straight into the next game, bit angry, bit, bit guns blazing, and just blow Sanguine out the water.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it goes 2-0. I would be happy for Sanguine. I think if Sanguine can make this a 2-1 as a loss, I think that's a success. That's a successful run for the Sanguine squad. Getting there is already kind of a success. But the cherry on top is one of these players is probably going to get looked at for SPL is if they can take a game off of rival. I mean, that's probably already the case here with a couple members, but again, if they can just take that one game, I think that just solidifies them so much more.
I honestly think if one of the players gets called up to SPL, that the entire team is going to be moving out to SPL, because I don't know if I can say what's going to happen after Worlds, so I'm not going to. But there is going to be stuff happening.
Yeah.
So that's legitimately all I can say, because I don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not.
We do know some leaks in regards to at least SML. There's been talks about SML going away, and then they've kind of walked that back and said, no, we've been talking to pros, we've been talking to people about how we can kind of revitalize this and kind of change it moving forward. And the biggest theory that I have, and I've put this out a few times, is that we're going to see SML and SCL combined, and just be one giant cross-play thing with all this. There's too much talent to keep them all separate, and then you offer them the ability to play mouse, keyboard, or controller or whatever. That's a whole other thing. And then you expand the SPL by another slot or so. That's harder and trickier to do because of all of the allowances that they give. But I think next year's going to be a better year for the under SPL slot. And
Agreed.
Sanguine could very well benefit from that. So enough about our game one here. Moving on to the next one, Dig and Pittsburgh Knights. Honestly, I believe in this Pittsburgh Knights squad a lot more with Rowe on it than I thought I was going to. They looked like a different team. However, I feel like they are very contingent, at least when we last saw them, on Rowe getting Jormungandr. I liked them a hell of a lot less when Rowe was on anything else other than Jorm. I don't know. Do you believe in this Knights roster?
I believe in this Knights roster, but I'm going to go on a record saying this. I don't believe they have what it takes to take down Dignitas, simply because I believe the matchup in solo lane is a bit too weighted in favor of Dignitas. We all know that Cuba Fred likes to play off in the solo lane, and that's what Variety likes to do. He likes to get a lead, he likes to bully people out, likes to rotate early and just play as a third jungler even, as a fifth member of the team quite early on, rather than just being isolated on an island. So if Pittsburgh Knights don't adapt to that, and they just try and leave Rowe alone a bit more and give him something AFK like a Jormungandr, and he just gets bullied for it, then it's going to be a harsh reality for them that this is not the way to play against Dignitas. You have to be active in the solo lane. You have to be active in the mid lane a lot. You have to make sure that Cuba, Fred, and Trix aren't just running the map like they want to. I do believe that Emilzy and adapting together can take down Trix and Cuba, but that is heavily reliant on what exactly Deathwalker's playing and what exactly Rowe is playing.
Yeah, I think Deathwalker has been an interesting study in mid. He's done really well, a lot better than I thought he would be. I still think that going up against, now that Hurry is, I think, back in mid lane, I think we can say he's going to be playing out of that mid lane now. Ataraxia is kind of back in the long lane. And just knowing timers, having all of those instincts like that, you can't say no. You from experience, moving Barra from long to mid, there's a lot that you can just get. There's a lot that takes a lot of time. You've got to build in those instincts. There's a difference between having played mid for 2 years and knowing, I need to be at this buff, I need to be at this place, I need to be positioned here, and then having to actively be thinking about that, right? That takes away from other things you could be doing. And so with Deathwalker coming in there, I honestly, I would love to see them kind of go throwback to like what Mouse was doing like last year, and put him on Sun Wukong, put him on something weird in the mid, right? Put him on something that like he has a little bit more experience on, right? That and like, I think you guys on SSG have really shown that team comps can be whatever you want them to be. Like the possibilities of how you can play the game are cracked wide open, and we're just starting to see the tip of like that iceberg being explored. And I think this would be a perfect time for them to get weird with it, especially. I don't know, Deathwalker has an eclectic god pool. Emilzy has that eclectic god pool. You could do a lot of interesting things there, I feel like. But I think just Dig, before the last week or so, they looked like they were on the downswing. They hadn't figured everything out. And then the last game, Dig really came together. And if they can continue that level of what Dig is, there's the beginning of the year and everything, I don't think Knights can really challenge that. I mean, like you said, the soul lane match. I'm thinking like, what are the popular soul laners right now? All right, Yorm, Achilles, Tyr, King Arthur, like all of those things fit very well into Variety's hands. And then if even that, like if you're gonna if you leave Jormungandr open and they're gonna take it, just pick like the Cucullin, right? Who is a nightmare matchup for the Yorm. He does a salmon leap, misses all the damage from the Yorm, and then just sticks on him and just bullies the hell out of him, right? Like that. There's so many matchups that go wrong for Knights into Dig that I can't help. Like, I don't even think this will be a 2-1. I think this strongly leads to a 2-0 for Dig.
I don't see adapting Emilzy, Deathwalker, Vote, and Roe losing Worlds into 2-0. I don't see them going home without a win. I really do think this is going to be a 2-1. But I think the game which Pittsburgh Knights win is going to be a close game. And the ones that Dignitas win are going to be ones that are a bit almost one-sided. But I do think PK will hold themselves well in the early and maybe even parts of the mid game. But when it comes to like that 17-18 minute mark, that's when you see Dignitas start to get like a big enough lead to start bullying the map completely.
I think what it comes down to, and I would agree with you, if Dignitas don't come out guns blazing like they did the last couple times they were out, and they don't establish their early game, then I could see Knights winning, because that's been the folly of Dig for the last 6 months. Is they're like, we can just not care about early game, and we'll we're better than them. We'll beat them in the late game with our team fight. It doesn't work. Like, it consistently does not work. And now that they're trying to play for that early game, if they establish that, I think they beat Knights. However, I think adapting this year has been the most impatient I've ever seen him. He's been more easily riled and then more prone to mistakes that way, where he just he tries to make something happen that's not there. Sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't. And I think that's what you'd force Knights into, him trying to hero play it, and they lose. However, if he is able to be even or ahead, that's going to enable them to do a lot more, and that's where Knights could find their win. Should be interesting games to watch there. I'm excited to see what Pitt's been doing behind the scenes versus Dig, and this might be the first time where we see some actual different strats come out between these two teams. Even though it is round one, I think we'll see something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, I think we said pretty much all we need to say on this match.
All right,
I'm just thinking, what else could I really add here?
Right.
Nothing.
Moving on to our third game of that first round, Splice and SK.
Splice 2-0.
Yeah, realistically, yes. However,
I'm just gonna put this out there right now. Splice are the informed team. They are the team that's coming into this tournament with the best run of form. Mm-hmm. They look like the best team right now. They are second seed, yes, but if you think about how they started out the year and how well they played up until now, and how those around them have stuttered towards the end of the season, I don't see anything but a Splice 2-0 here against SK. I do think SK can pose some problems, don't get me wrong. I do think SK can put up a fight, but to me, it just comes down to, can Paul and Sam really put Ven that far behind to the point where it's a 4 versus 5? And the answer to that is no, because this Splice roster now knows how to play around Ven, and Scream and Aurora are just going to go balls deep into the mid lane and make Paul hate his life.
Yeah, it all depends on which SK show up. If the best form of SK show up, I think they could take a game from the Splice roster. I don't believe it, but I think they could take two. Like, they could sneak this set away if they are at 100% and then get that crowd reaction.
I'll give you this. Last year, we saw E United go into Worlds in one of the best forms we've ever seen a team go into Worlds in. And they came up against this exact roster when they were Trifecta last season, and Trifecta did win 2-1. So I'll give you the possibility that it could happen, but will Lightning strike twice? I'm not so sure.
I'm not either. I really like this SK roster. I really like Splice as well. And the only questions that really leave me hanging on SK is the side lanes. Like, Zap and Belair are huge question marks for me, just because Zap has a little bit of magic. He's still got a lot left in the tank, but is it enough? Can he like really buckle down on the game day and everything, get it done? Same with Belair. He's always been the middle of the road solo laner. He's never been the top. He hasn't been the bottom, but he's always been middle of the road. And is that going to be enough against Splice? I don't think so. So it really comes down to that mid 3v3. And SK might have the best. They're in the conversation for the best, certainly, for that 3v3. Neil, Paul, and Sam play together so fantastically that I think the way that they play alone, you have to look at them and be like, okay, we have to take this seriously. Like, they could have a chance. It's when you look outside of that, is Zap going to be able to stand his own against Cyclone, where Cyclone is having a better year as an ADC than his Worlds run last year? And then, Solo, is he going to be able to, so is Belair going to be able to like contend with Solo or Troll? I don't think so. I think Solo's just looked amazing. Yeah, I don't see a world where Splice lose this, but again, last year we didn't see a world where United lost to Trifecta, in the first round. So I don't know. I think watching SK play is going to be fun. I think we can just leave it at that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And then we end our first round with Renegades and E United.
Ooh, spicy.
Very. E United has a lot. This is an interesting team that I thought I would like less with Emil on it, but I don't think I do. I think I like them just the same amount. I like them initially because they were a squad of a bunch of guys who were never the star for their team. They were all really fantastic role players. I guess Benji, besides Benji, solo laners, right? Who cares about solo laners?
Like, any solo lane that's going to look good when they're playing in a meta where they're 3 levels ahead and then rotating killing.
Right, everyone. Exactly. And then he's playing the most broken god and nobody's banning it away and he's just allowed to do whatever he wants on it, right? Like, that's who lets a man play Kakulin every game, huh? Who does that?
We didn't.
And so now they've got, again, we're in the 3v3 is so super important, but it's also, Splice won last year not because of the 3v3. They won because of their side lanes exuding so much pressure and demanding so much attention and just getting big. And then United kind of have that same thing going, where Benji is still super in form. You've got Emil being super in form, and then their 3v3 is like Collis, Big Man, and Ice, who have all 3 of those guys. Big Man has looked at at times like one of the best mids this year. And then Collis is always an exceptional support, and Ice, when he's at his best, he looks like a top tier jungle. It's these two teams I think are closer than they are apart. And that's not like a dig at Renegades. I just think Renegades wins a lot based off of like how tight knit they are, and I think United also wins because of how tight knit they are right now.
Agreed. Both of these teams do play pretty similar styles, in my opinion. They don't have a particular lane that they want to play around every single time. It's, okay, this lane's ahead, let's start focusing around the solo lane. Let's start focusing around the duo lane. Let's start focusing around objectives, because that's what our comp really excels at. And that sort of adaptability, it's difficult to plan against, but when you're in game, if you figure out what their composition or what their style is before the game starts, you can come up with strategies and on the fly and start to counteract it in game. So this to me just comes down to a battle of wits between the players, and also have E United taken their scrims and taken their practice and prep for this World Run seriously enough. Because we've seen E United in the past, when they came up against LG at the beginning of Phase 2, look completely devoid of anything. Like they didn't look like they belonged in the SPL at times during that set. I know that's rich coming from us, but then afterwards they buckle down, they go back to some serious hard practice, they scrim a lot, they take it seriously. Then they come back in their next two sets. I forget who they were against, but they just look like the best team in the SPL completely. And that just to me speaks to the fact that they play well when their practice has been well, and they play poorly when their practice hasn't been what it needs to be. What it needs to be is practice needs to actually be like serious theory crafting. It needs to be serious composition training. You need to treat it as an SPL environment. So in this case, it needs to be treated as a Worlds environment. If they've done that, E United can take this set. If they haven't been, in the form of their lives during scrims, so they haven't really taken it as 100%, then I don't see them taking this set. I see Renegades taking this set because Renegades don't particularly need the best practice to go into the Worlds run, because they are feeling good about themselves regardless. Mm-hmm. If you look at the players that are on the roster, you have Dardes, Cherio, Funballer, and Nika, players that didn't attend Worlds last year. This is an improvement from last year on them. The squad is an improvement last year from them massively. So this is their time. They're feeling confident about this Worlds run, regardless of whether they come up with good practice or bad practice, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Renegades they have that swagger to them. Like last year, Splice won because like their whole mantra was, all right, if we get behind, Clown Fiesta the game until we're not. Just delay, stall, do whatever you need to do, right? I think Renegades do like the same basic things. Like they, just who they are as players, they can kind of just operate and stall and like drag the game out a little bit, because we're not talking about like the most calculated players that have ever played the game of Smite. We're talking about guys who are just like, I'm going to walk this way. Why are you walking that way, Raffer? I don't know. I just feel like it today. And then like he catches somebody out and they're like, oh, cool. We're going to kill him now. And it's like, why? How did that work? Like, it's really hard to game plan against these guys because they operate more off of gut feel than a lot of things. And it just kind of happens to work out. And when you have an entire team of guys who operate that way, and like I've sat down and talked with Funball, and it's like how this was such a good setup, this such a good call from Cherio to like get everybody around here, and he's like, no dude, like he just did that and we were just all around and we saw and we were like, okay, we got to go do this, right? And it's like, oh, so like they're like on a whole like other level when it comes to that kind of stuff. And like it's really hard, I feel like, to go against a team like that. E United do have a good, nice, strong roster. The way that Renegades have been playing, I just don't think I can realistically say they lose in the first round to this EU squad. So I think 2-1 maybe, or yeah. I think all of these games potentially could go 2-1.
Agreed. I think all these sets can go 2-1. the rival Sanguine set and the Splice SK set are contingent on exactly how game 1 goes. But the other 2 sets, I think, are pretty for sure 2-1s. This set especially, this one is the closest one of the lot, and you'd expect that from, what are they, the 4th and 5th seeds, these 2 teams?
It still blows my mind that Renegades is like that low of a seed when they've like been so strong.
Yeah, they went through a couple of weeks in season 1, like a couple of rounds in season 1 where they just lost every set. So they found themselves in the middle of the pack, and I think they did the exact same this split. They didn't exactly win every set, but they didn't look bad in any set. They just stumbled a couple times. And then the other teams just they won a bit more consistently. That's just how the table works. And now we find ourselves in this situation where Renegades take on the United as a 4th and 5th seed. So it's a crazy world where these 2 rosters are the 4th and 5th seed, given the caliber of players that are on.
It's been such a good competitive year. I hope like next year. Like I've heard a couple murmurings around the league that like, as crazy as it was going into this year, there's some even more crazy stuff kind of being murmured about going into next year. So that's very exciting. Looking at how our first round breaks down, we've got Rival, Dig, and Splice Renegades as our semifinals.
Yes.
Rival, Dig, that is a great matchup. I think that it's kind of a shame that we have Rival, Dig, and then Splice Renegades. These are both like 2 grudge matches realistically between these 2 squads. If we're being, like I think Rival has been more of the rival to Dig, and Splice and Renegades have been more each other's rivals. So this is like the best tournament arc in an anime, except we're getting it like the round before the final round, and then the final round is just like nobody even can comprehend what's going on. So Rival, Dig, without breaking everything down, just gut feeling, who do you think takes that set?
Rival in 4.
Okay.
That's just gut feeling right there. Rival in 4.
I tend to agree. I tend to think that Rival has been the stronger team throughout the year. They both play very similarly, where it's all about their teamwork and their team fight and getting to that point of the game. But Rival, I think, to me, has consistently played a better early game, and that has been Dig's weakness. And until I see otherwise, I don't think that Dig is going to be able to match what Rival wants to do in that regards. If they could very well come out round 1 and like absolutely dominate PK with some really great early game showings, and that could change my mind. But I do think I would have to agree that this set probably goes to Rival, as much as that kind of sucks to say, because I think Dignitas is them and Renegades are my 2 favorite rosters this year, and so I would love to see Nate get that world championship finally, right? But Rival's just been too informed. Like they just been a monster of a team, especially down the stretch. Then
the way I'm thinking about this right now as well is we're going into world season and you're trying to back Dig in a world championship.
Hey, the curse is broke, right?
Maybe, who knows? It's a different roster, and it's half a different roster. So maybe the curse has been broken. Who knows?
Yeah,
but I don't know. They had their stutter towards the end of the season, and that makes me think that maybe they might continue the stutter going into this championship. Probably not in the first round against PK, but this round, especially against Rival, when they're going up against a team that plays so goddamn well when they're ahead, it's going to be difficult for them.
But it's also like tier is in the meta, and it's variety.
But it's also fine, okay.
He's more of a Herc one trick, let's be honest, okay? And we did see Herc pop up in the solo lane in placement, so, but I don't know. Wouldn't that be wild? Like, oh my god,
that would be wild.
Final K bringing back the Herc.
We have Variety's tier versus Final K's Herc in Game 5 in that set.
Oh my god. I think that would I think that would rival the Ares lock-in for the elimination match. If we see all of a sudden, like, as the elimination match, Fine OK locks in Herc and Variety locks in Tier, that'd be pretty nutty.
What if the final match of every set players just agree to lock in their signature picks?
Oh my god.
Like, okay, just fuck picks and bans, and we'll just go straight to signature
So, all right,
picks.
so signature picks for Rival. So you've got Arkle on Rom.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You've got PBM on Fafnir.
Yeah, I'd say Fafnir is probably a signature pick.
You've got Panda on either Hu Yi or Hibois.
Hebo.
Yeah.
I'd say if we're gonna run a, maybe no, actually maybe Hu Yi.
Right? Like that's
Given we have the Fafnir, I'd say Hu Yi.
Hu Yi. Twig's harder to lock. Twig on Rat.
Twig on Erlang Shen.
Twig on Erlang Shen over the Rat. I feel like when I think Twig, I think Rat though. I don't know.
When I think Twig, I think Warriors. I think utility junglers, because he's the only real one that's got utility junglers down to a lock. And when I say that right now in my head, I'm thinking Circuit utility.
Okay. All right,
Maybe.
So Erlang and then Fine OK on Herc. All right, so then across the way we've got Dig, we've got Jingwei for Nate, easy.
Yes, easy login.
We've got Big Man, not Big Man. We've got
Trixtank,
not Big Man. Trixtank. What would Trixtank's signature be?
If I had to go real old school, I would say Sun Wukong, but that's obviously not something that's going to be in the meta right now. It's just a support. Real signature pick for maybe Sobek. He does have a very gnarly Sobek.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard, like, because he's
Yeah.
plays so much and he's played for so long.
Yeah.
And played at a high level. Oh, man. I don't know. That's really... All right, viewers, who would you say would be the signature pick for Trixtank here? I'll come back after this video is out and AJ and I will discuss. Then you've got in mid, you've got
Hurrywind,
Giannis. Yep, easy. Done. Then you've got Circuit for Cubo.
Oh yes. So Circuit's for Cubo, which means that you can't give Circuit to Captain Twig, so you put him on a warrior.
Yeah. So Circuit. And
then Variety, you can put him on any warrior.
Tier,
like a signature pick. Tier,
King Arthur. Oh man.
Like I said, you can put him on any warrior. It's gonna be, yep, that is a signature Variety pick right there.
If everybody gets their signature picks, I think Dig wins that. I don't think it's even close. If Dig gets...
No.
That's a hell of a comp, especially right now in this meta.
Like, if you give Variety and Cubo Fred either King Arthur or Tier and Circuit, you just lose that solo side of the map for free. Like, that is just lost.
Yeah. Oof. All right. So we're going to see same exercise. All right. So we've got Splice and Renegades. Splice. Cyclone.
Shibbolonke?
I was thinking Izanami, but that was just because, like, of the one weird strat they were kind of running last year. X-Ball. I could give you the X-Ball. X-Ball. And then Aurora on the Herc.
Yeah, definitely the Hercules.
And then... Or the Fenrir, because that was a big chunk pick, too.
I think Hercules is
Hercules
more
right now.
to the meta right now. Yeah.
All right. So then you've got mid with Vin.
Does Ven even really have that signature pick?
I don't think he... What did he play at Worlds? What was he playing when they won Worlds? I'm trying to think back. Like, did you like Kukulkan? Khan?
Well, right now he's playing a lot of Kukulkan. He's playing it extremely well, so we could lock in Kukulkan for him right now, and I think that wouldn't look too amiss.
Okay. Then you've got Jungle. You've got Scream. Bastet?
Yeah.
And then Solo Thor?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then Renegades. Poseidon, Horus, On Her, Neja, Yorm?
Vanika Yorm?
That's what he's played a lot of this year.
Yeah, he has played a lot of it, and when Yum has been open, they have defaulted to it. So I am inclined to agree with you, but Nika is a tier player, so maybe
Yeah,
we could look in
maybe.
tier for that. Who knows? It's different. I do agree on Horus and Onher and Daja. For Funballer, Poseidon is a very interesting choice as a pick.
I mean, also with him, it's Rom too, right? I think a lot of Rom when I think Fumball at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through the hunters right now, and I do think if I had to define any of these as Funball, it would be Rom. So,
yeah. I don't know, that one would be interesting. That'd be less one-sided than the previous one by a lot.
I think that one would go to Splice simply because their early game just is a bit better.
Yeah.
And if that composition gets off to the early lead, which it probably should do, then that composition is very difficult to keep down.
Yeah, very true. All right, so our finals are gonna be based off everybody getting their comfort picks in the semifinals. Our finals is Dig versus Splice. With those two comps,
Ooh.
I think I still got to give it to Dig. That is like their comp is just gross.
Like, it's not just that their comp is gross, it's that they are so effing good at those gods as well.
Yeah. All right, there you've got it. Our Smite World Champions of 2020, Dignitas on Jingwei, whatever the hell Trickstick wants to play, Yanis, Serket, whatever the hell King Arthur tier, whatever variety wants to play. God, that would be gross. And that's the thing. Like, I look at Dig, and they just if they can break that, them breaking the curse and winning would be amazing. Like, you look at the story, who's got the best storylines going into Worlds, right? Renegades have a great storyline with that, like, roster from last year coming into this year. Cherio finally winning, Raffer getting a third, Funball winning, everything like that. They've got a really good storyline. Splice being the repeat champs after all of like the turmoil they've had on the roster. Great story. SK, the young squad, the young core, decent.
Like the only team that's stuck together throughout the entire from last year and this year.
Yes,
that's a good storyline of just being together and being as a unit. E United, Kalas and Ice finally getting that world championship.
Getting it, yeah.
Too close calls.
Emil getting his third, like that's the biggest thing I think with Renegades and EU is like somebody getting their third ring and then everybody else kind of finally getting theirs.
Yeah, so that's sort of very similar storylines, and it's apt that they play each other in the first round.
Yeah, it really is. And then Splice,
SK.
So SK's got, we already did them. Pit would be that. I don't even know. Like, Pit storyline is all over the place.
Pittsburgh Knights for me is adapting send off because he's made it very clear that he wants to win another world championship and then retire. So if he does get this world championship here, this is going to be adapting send off, and it's going to be the last hurrah and the retiring of the king, as it were.
Yeah. That would be
rival storyline is the org that finally gets the championship. It's a similar vein to E United and Renegades in players, but this time as the org, as well as Captain Twig being in that same boat of finally getting the world championship ring. PBM proving that it wasn't just a one-hit wonder with E United in Season 4, just captaining another roster, which would make him, by definition, I believe, the most successful support in Smite if he gets it, because he'll be the only support to have done it with two different rosters.
Yeah.
Then obviously the best storyline possible would be if Sanguine did it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sanguine winning is S+ tier story writing. Whether or not they do, I mean, they would have to beat Rival. Realistically, they'd have to be Rival, Dig, and then Splice or Renegades. Realistically, that that would be the hardest road out of anybody else.
If you were the first seed going into the World Championship and you had that run, you would say the brackets are rigged, let alone going in as the 8th seed.
Good Lord, that would just be insane. Put all your money on Chaddox coming out, all right, people? That's all I'm saying. All right, so with our, if everybody gets their signature pick, Dig, obviously. But if everything plays out more meta, more realistically, out of Rival, Dig, and Splice Renegades, who do you think wins Worlds this year?
I say it's going to be, like I said, 3-1 to Rival in the first semi-final. Second semi-final goes to a Game 5, I think, regardless of who wins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to go right now with the informed team of Splice.
Okay.
Going to the finals. So yeah, first seed versus second seed in the grand finals. Big whoop. Great storyline, Hindu. Fantastic story writing. And I just see Splice taking it again 3-2.
It's hard to argue with that. Splice has been such an informed team, like you've said, and Rival has looked really good, but they have stumbled along the way in really crucial points and have struggled with a lot of the same things they've struggled with in the past. And Splice really hasn't had the same amount of struggles. They have been a strong team throughout, and the only other teams they've really lost to, they've lost to Renegades, and that's, you can't really say much about them losing that.
They lost to an extremely informed Renegades who just dumpstered everybody else in the mid-season invitational. Like you can't fault a team for losing to the most informed team that there's pretty much ever been.
They replaced their solo laner, and they got a new jungle. Splice has made a lot of changes here, and this roster from winning Worlds, they've gotten a new mid, a new jungle, and a new solo, and yet here they are again. That is insane. That would be really good for them. And Splice is no longer an org. Splice doesn't exist anymore.
No.
So
who aren't Splice underneath somebody anymore? Splice got absorbed.
Splice they got bought by Overactive Media or something like that, which is a Toronto-based company. And then that company said, you know what? We're shuttering that. So they deleted the brand. So they made their League of Legends team made a great run towards Worlds. They ended up falling short, and I thought that would have been the best way for Splice to go out is with a League of Legends World Championship. Obviously, a bigger stretch there than them going out on top of the Smite Championship, but also just a good storyline for the Smite boys, or for them to go out on top as an org, as a 2-time World Championship to rival that of, I guess, does NRG get the claim of the 2-time Smite World? They don't, do they?
The players do, the org doesn't.
Yeah, so Splice would be the first org in Smite to be a 2-time world champion. That'd be pretty dope.
That would be dope.
All right. I don't think we have time to go over placement brackets because we spent so much time going over Worlds, and I think that's okay. Quick, we'll just go a high level. What was your favorite part about placement round?
Favorite parts? Would either have to be seeing Sanguine qualify for HRX. I think just that team really did deserve to go. Just what they've been through, and the way that they play together and everything has been fantastic. Or the other highlight for me would have been Anderson's pentakill. That
was a really good point. And then I don't even have what your least favorite part was. I think that's pretty kind of obvious and apparent here. Honestly, I think my favorite part would either be just seeing the hype unit console team do so well and be
That's a good point.
so improved even from their MSI. I don't think there is realistically any way Layers doesn't get a tryout for SPL. Even if he's young, even if he's like you put him on his squad with some vets that can kind of guide him a little bit, and then you give him consistent scrims, I think he could be rookie of the year jungle. And that would be that I feel like is so much harder than like, because we've had the last couple of rookie of the years we've had have been from solo. Like when's the last, and then Sam had a chance and then, you know, got, I think just had a bad run of form maybe, but and overshadowed by Paul, obviously. But I think Lairs really has a shot. I think, when's the last time we had a young jungle player come up that could be like the next big jungle? Sino, but then Sino has kind of cooled way off from that. I don't know.
Maybe it would have been
I guess
Ice back in season 4.
Yeah. Well, and then Sam. I just said it, right? Sam has been like, he came in.
Yeah.
But but this is his second time around.
That would have been nice.
Right, but so this is Sam's second time around, so I can't really qualify him that, right? Because he did have that eager run. And then Ice, yeah, I guess. So it's been a minute since we've had a true rookie jungler come in and really kind of dominate. So that would probably be the highest. The lowest, I think, is just seeing the SPL teams not deliver in the end, right? Like it's a double-edged sword, right? You want the SPL to be filled with the best teams possible, and obviously there are things that led people to be in the SML, but I think it was just really some exceptionally poor showings from a couple teams. Obey. Well, I'm just not even going to mince words here. I think Obey. I think they're very disappointed in themselves, and I don't want to harp on those guys, but it was not a great set from those guys, and I think I don't know, those guys, it's going to be rough for them to move forward now, especially. So, all right. So AJ, thanks for coming on. Really enjoyed talking to you. You know, time flies when you have fun, right? So I will give you a chance to say anything that you haven't already said. If there's any shout outs you want to give or anything like that, you know the drill. You've been here too many times.
I'm like a regular on this show at this point. You can find me on Twitter at AlphaJackal, on Twitch AlphaJackal1, YouTube /C/AlphaJackal. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I am going to be announcing something about Season 7 before the end of the year in terms of my plans. Yeah, that's pretty much it, so stay tuned for that.
All right, excited to see. We've hearing lots of rumors that we're getting some good announcement here at HRX. We just got to wait. I think does HRX, like, will DreamHack Atlanta starts Thursday, I believe? And then the first games don't start till Friday.
I believe with DreamHack you can go get your tickets on the Thursday, but you're not allowed to enter. Like,
gotcha.
Most people could go get the tickets on the Thursday. It's if you book tickets through them and then also book the hotel through them, you can go get your tickets on the Thursday. Otherwise, you have to wait till the Friday. It's bonkers.
Gotcha. So Friday, we're finally here, guys. Exciting stuff. Can't wait to see it, and have fun on your trip there. Have a drink on me. Make APAM buy you a drink for me, and then you drink it. You know the drill.
All right, will do.
All right, thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you later, dude.
Talk to you later, man.
All right, bye.